Dear students, in this video, I am going to explain you a story, An Angel in Disguise. This story is written by famous 19th century American writer T.S. Arthur. An Angel in Disguise, with its strong vocabulary, complex sentences, realistic setting, and vivid point of view, stresses on the importance of love and care in one's life. How love drives out even the darkest and deepest bitterness out of a person is the main theme of the story. It's written in third person from an unknown narrator's perspective. So let's start with the story. Idleness, vice, and intemperance had done their miserable work, and the dead mother lay cold and still amid her wretched children. So, as I've told you, the story has a very strong vocabulary. So, you need to know meanings of every word, and you can use these words while writing your composition or essays. Idleness means state of being idle or having no employment. Vice means moral weakness. Intemperance means one who does not have control over his or her behavior. So these are the three things that are responsible for the death of a mother who was lying cold and dead in front of her children. She had fallen upon the threshold of her own door in a drunken fit and died in the presence of her frightened little ones. So she was also known to be a drunkard woman, and she was laying dead at the footstep of her own house in a drunken fit, and the children, they were obviously very frightened on seeing her mother dead in front of them. Death touches the spring of common humanity. So this means that all humanity is affected by death, and one common factor among all humans is death. Death has to come to everybody. This woman had been despised, scoffed at, and angrily denounced by nearly every man, woman, and child in the village. So this lady, this woman, this unnamed mother had been despised. Despised means that she had been hated. Scoffed at means laughed at. Denounced means criticized. So she was hated, criticized, and laughed at by nearly every man and woman and child in the village. But now, as the fact of her death was passed from lip to lip in subdued tones, pity took place of anger and sorrow of denunciation. Denunciation again means act of criticizing somebody. So everybody was hated the lady, everybody criticized the lady, but now since the news of her death had reached from one lip to another lip, everybody had come to know about the news of her death. So now pity took place of anger and sorrow took place of denunciation. Instead of criticizing the lady, instead of being angry at her, the villagers now they had pity and they were sorrowful on hearing about the death of the lady. Neighbors went hastily to the tumble-down hut. So all the neighbors in the village, they went hurriedly to the tumble-down hut. Tumble-down hut means the hut that could break down or it was not in a good condition. So they reached the tumble-down hut, in which she had secured little more than a place of shelter from summer heats and winter cold. So the lady was living in a very miserable condition. The house, the hut where she lived is referred to as tumble-down hut. That could hardly protect them from summer heat and winter colds. Some with grave clothes for the decent interment of the body. So some of the villagers, they had brought grave clothes for the burial of the body, and some food for the half-starving children, 3 in number. And some of them had brought food for the half-starving children. So she had 3 children. So the lady had 3 children. One of these, John, the oldest, a boy of 12, was a stout lad. So the eldest child was named John. He was of 12 years and he was a stout lad. He was heavily built. He was a fat boy and he could earn his living by working with any farmer. Kate, between 10 and 11, was bright, active girl out of whom something clever might be made if in good hands. So Kate was also a healthy child, and it's said that if she was in good hands, then something clever might be made out of her. But poor Maggie, the youngest, was hopelessly diseased. So the younger one, the youngest child, was a diseased child. So, how was she diseased? The reason is 2 years before, a fall from a window had injured her spine. So, she had fallen from a window 2 years ago and she had injured her spine. And she had not been able to leave her bed since, except when lifted in the arms of her mother. So, she was bedridden. She couldn't move on her own. Only when somebody lifted her in her arms, so she could move here and there. Otherwise she couldn't move herself. So what have we studied till now? That an unnamed poor woman dies from excess alcohol consumption, and she is known for her bad behavior, and she had been an outcast in the village due to her addiction. But her death has drawn villagers' sympathy, and so they had arranged for a proper funeral of her. And the woman had left behind 3 children. The eldest one was named John, who could earn his living by working with any farmer. Then Kate, who was 10 to 11 years old girl, and she was also bright and active, and something clever could be made out of her. And then the little one, the youngest, Maggie, she was diseased. She was bedridden. 2 years before, she had fallen from the window and she had injured her spine. So she couldn't move on her own, except when she was lifted in arms of somebody, so she could move around. Otherwise, she was bedridden. What is to be done with the children was the chief question now. So the villagers questioned each other. Since the mother is dead, we don't know anything about the father. Nothing is mentioned in the story. So everybody was asking, all the villagers were asking that what should be done with the children. The dead mother would go underground and be forever beyond all care or concern of the villagers. So mother would be buried and nobody would care or be concerned about her. But the children must not be left to starve. So everybody was worried that children shouldn't be left to starve. After considering the matter and talking it over with his wife, Farmer Jones said that he would take John and do well by him. So after talking to his wife, Farmer Jones said that he will take John with him, the eldest son, who is also called a stout lad. So he said, I will take John along with me. Now that moving on to next page, mother was out of the way. So his mother was no more there. She was dead. So Farmer Jones he happily agreed that he would take John along with him. And Mrs. Ellis, who had been looking for a bond girl. So Mrs. Ellis, she was looking for a bound girl. Bound girl means, children who are bound as servants. So this was very common practice in America and in 1700s. So it was common that people would take away children who were orphan or even in the presence of their parents who were very poor. So they didn't have any choice, but they sent their children, or their children were made to live in somebody else's place, and they served the people with whom they lived. So this Mrs. Ellis, she was looking out for a bound girl or a servant, concluded that it would be charitable in her to make a choice of Ketty. So see how ironically the writer has mentioned here that it was charitable in her. So she was looking out for a bound girl. She was looking out for a servant, right? And she was not doing any charity by taking Catty along with her. But here she's pretending as if she's very, out of pity she's taking Catty along, right? But she, out of her own, you can say selfish means, she had her selfish intentions made her take away Catty along with her. It was not out of pity, or she was not doing any charity. So she said that it would be charitable in her to make choice of Ketty, even though she was too young to be of much use for several years. So she said that even though she's so young for me, she wouldn't be of any help, but still I will be charitable and I'll take Catty along with me. I could do much better, I know, said Mrs. Ellis, but as no one seems inclined to take her, I must act from a sense of duty. Expect to have trouble with the child. So she's saying, though I will be troubled because of Catty, but since nobody is willing to take her along, so out of my sense of duty, I will take the child along. For she is an indisciplined thing. So Catty is called a thing. She is not considered a human being. So she says, though she is very indisciplined, but still she'll be a trouble to me. But still, I'll take it. It's a sense of duty, and it's very charitable for me. So as if she's doing a great favor on her. So she says, okay, I'll take the girl, though she's used to having her own ways. Means she does what she feels like doing. She's very indisciplined. She'll be a great trouble to me. But I must act from a sense of duty. I should be charitable and I'll take Catty along. So Farmer Jones, again because of his selfish intentions, he want John to help him in farming. So he has taken along this John, the eldest one. And Mrs. Ellis, she is also very charitable, so called, and so called sense of duty she has in her, and that is the reason she said that she'll take along Catty with her. But no one said, I'll take Maggie. So what could be actually charitable was that if somebody said that I'll take Maggie along, because she is the one who's bedridden, she is helpless, and she couldn't do anything on her own. So, but nobody was willing to take Maggie with them. Pitying glances were cast on her wan and wasted body. So everybody looked at her with pity. But nobody was ready to take her along with them. So pitying glances were cast on her wan and wasted body. Wan here means pale and sick, and wasted here means bony or skeletal. So she was very weak physically, and she looked very pale. So everybody looked at her with pity. Everybody looked at her pale and wasted body. Form means body, with pitying glances, but nobody thought of taking her along. So thoughts were troubled on her account. So everybody was troubled on what will happen of her, but nobody was interested to take her along. Mothers bought cast off garments and removing her soiled and ragged clothes, dressed her in clean attire. So mothers had brought a cast of garments. Cast of garments means the garments they no more needed. So they had brought old clothes for her, and they removed their torn out and dirty clothes and dressed her up in clean clothes. The sad eyes and patient face of the little one touched many hearts, and even knocked at them for entrance. So this her sad eyes and her patient face touched everybody, touched heart of almost all the villagers. They had pity towards her. They even knocked at them for entrance. Means they even thought of taking or helping her, helping this little girl, but nobody agreed. Nobody, the glances were not enough, the pity was not enough that they would take the girl along. So that is why this line is mentioned here, that she could draw pity, but nobody was ready to take her, but none open to take her in. So her pitying glances and her patient face, her sad eyes knocked at everybody's heart, touched the heart of every villager, but nobody was ready to accept her. Because who wanted a bedridden child? Nobody wanted a child who was of no use to them. She was bedridden. Take her to the poorhouse, said the rough man, to whom the question, what's to be done with Maggie, was asked. Nobody is going to be bothered with her. So somebody asked a rough man a question, that what should be done with Maggie. So he said she should be sent to a poorhouse. Poorhouse is a housing for poor and homeless children. So saying that girl should be sent to the poorhouse because nobody is going to bother about her. The poorhouse is a sad place for sick and helpless child, answered one. So one of the villager amongst them said that poorhouse is not a safe, is not a good place for this child. So he said that it is a very sad place. It would be a very sad place for such a sick and helpless child. In answer to this, one of the villagers said, "For your child or mine," said the other, lightly speaking. So he's saying that poorhouse is a sad place, but if it is for your or mine child, it's not a sad place for Maggie. But for its this brat. So brat means a child who is not who does not bear a good behavior. So he's saying that for your or mine child, the place could be a sad one, but not for this child, not for Maggie. It will prove a blessing change. She will be kept clean, have healthy food, and be doctored, which is more than can be said of her past condition. Says that it could be a sad place for your or mine child, but it is definitely not a sad place for Maggie. In fact, it would be a blessing for her because she'll be kept clean, she'll have healthy food, she will be visited by a doctor, and this will be in fact a blessed change for her than what she experienced in her past condition. So the villagers are trying to say that when her mother was alive, she was not taken care of well, and she will definitely get a better treatment in a poorhouse. There was a reason in that, but still it didn't satisfy. So though whatever the villager had said, there was a reason in it, but it did not satisfy. The day following the day of death was made the day of the burial. So after the mother had died, the following day was kept for the burial of the body. A few neighbors were at the miserable hovel. Hovel means the hut, the tumble down hut. But none followed the dead cart as it bore unhonored remains of its pauper grave. So though the neighbors were at the hovel, at the tumble down hut where the lady lived with her 3 children, but nobody followed the dead cart. So though they were there at the hut, but none of them followed the body, the dead cart, because they considered the lady to be unhonored, means she was not respectful, and the unhonored remains means the dead body of the woman was taken to the pauper grave, means poor grave. So the dead body of the woman was taken to the grave, and as a usual custom, people, they follow the dead body. But here in this case, nobody followed the dead body of the mother because She was not considered to be a respectful person because of her behavior, because of her habit. She was a drunkard woman. Farmer Jones, after the coffin was taken off, placed John in his wagon and drove away. So Farmer Jones, he has taken John with him as it was decided earlier, and he has driven away. Mrs. Ellis spoke to Kate in a hurry, dear. Bid your sister goodbye, and drew the tearful children apart, ere scarcely their lips had touched in sobbing farewell. So she didn't even let the children, let the sibling meet each other properly. They couldn't even bid farewell to each other, and she, in a hurry, took away Catty along with her. She had not even bid farewell to her younger sister Maggie. Hastily others went out, some glancing at Maggie and some resolutely refraining from a look, until all had gone. So, while Farmer Jones took away John, Mrs. Ellis took away Cat, and other villagers also were in a hurry to move, to go away. Nobody, some of them glanced at Maggie, and some of them, they intentionally did not look at the girl because nobody was ready to take the responsibility of the girl. She was alone. Just beyond the threshold, Joe Thompson, a wheelwright, paused. So wheelwright means a person who mends wheels of the carts in the village. So that he was a wheelwright by profession. So only Joe Thompson, who was a wheelwright, he paused, he stopped there and said to the blacksmith's wife, who was hastening off, means she was also in a hurry and she was about to go from there. And Joe Thompson asked blacksmith's wife, it's a cruel thing to leave her so. So he said that it's very cruel that we are leaving this helpless child all alone. Then take her to the poorhouse, she'll have to go there. So the blacksmith's wife said that you should take her to the poorhouse if you feel that it's a cruel thing to leave her here. So then take her to the poorhouse. That is the place where she can be sent, answered the blacksmith's wife, springing away and leaving Joe behind. So she also went away, and only Joe was left behind. For a little while, the man stood with a puzzled air. Then he turned back and went into the hovel again. For a little while, this man, Joe Thompson, he stood there. He was confused. In a puzzled air means he was confused whether he should go inside or he should also, like others, go back to his house. But after thinking, he turned back and went into the hovel again, went into the place where Maggie was left all alone. Maggie, with painful effort, had raised herself to an upright position and was sitting on the bed. So she had raised herself and she was sitting on the bed, straining her eyes upon the door out of which all had just departed. So she was looking at the door from where everybody else had left. A vague terror had come into her thin white face. So she was in a terror. She was terrified. Obviously, a girl who was helpless, who was bedridden, who was sick. She was left all alone. Her mother was dead. Her siblings had left her. They were taken away by Farmer Jones, and one was taken away by Mrs. Ellis. She was left all alone. So obviously she was terrified. She was afraid. She was frightened that what would happen to her. Oh, Mr. Thompson. So when she saw that Mr. Thompson was coming inside the hut, she cried out, catching her suspended breath, "Don't leave me here all alone." So she cried out to Mr. Thompson that please do not leave me all alone here. Dear students, I'll end the video here. I hope you have understood the story. In case anything is not clear, do let me know in the comment section. I'll continue the rest in the next video. Thank you so much.